Hello, welcome to the presentation, How a PlayPosit Guided Group Project Impacted Online Student Engagement. My name is TJ Hunt, and I'm presenting with my colleagues, Dr. Sharifi, Dr. Gia, and Dr. Ndanga, about how we implemented this project for our online students. In this presentation, we'll cover the introduction and background, research objectives, methods, results, and discussion about the project. We thought we'd start with this quote. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education, by Martin Luther King. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, engage me and I learn. So we started this project in order to help engage our online students in activities that weren't just for the purpose of communicating with other students, but to try and integrate that engagement with their classmates, with their professors, in a way that directly related to the content of the course, and that the students could see as a benefit both to their grade, but also in how it affected their future career after graduation. So in doing this, we were thinking, about the following bullets. Developing critical thinking requires the foundation and ongoing stimulation for that, which is why we were hoping to spread this over the entire semester. We felt that online students had fewer ways to engage with university activities and services and tended to have reduced interactions with peers and the professor. And it's not something that must happen that way, but we felt that we had to make a conscious effort to engage those students in the university and in the classroom. The teaching method and course design can impact student engagement and student outcomes in an online environment. And we realized that given the importance of engagement and the engagement deficiency for online students, that our goal of improving that engagement by the students becomes critical. So we wanted to focus on implementing some new tools and methods to improve that student engagement. So one of the first things that we needed to determine is, what is student engagement? Come up with, to try to find an idea that we can all agree upon, okay, this is what we're going after, because different people could have different ideas of what student engagement is. So some of the definitions and the ideas that we found when looking into it were that engagement is the intention of the student to participate in a learning activity with observable behavior related to learning the content, that they had internal cognition, embraced active learning, participation, and communication. Another idea we found is that engagement is associated with the completion of course tasks, active thinking, talking in synchronous meetings, and interacting with the course content, classmates, and the instructor. We wanted to try to engage or align the engagement with the 7 principles for good practice found in undergraduate education: student-faculty contact, cooperation among students, active learning, prompt feedback, having time on task in the course, high expectations for the student, and respect for the diverse talents and ways of learning. We wanted an engagement towards results versus engagement just for the purpose of engaging. And I think that what we found was that the students thought that was very important as well. We associated engagement with higher order thinking, interaction, communication, cooperation, and quality learning outcomes, and looking for the conditions for creating a community of inquiry, a cognitive presence, social presence, and teaching presence. So in looking at having those students in our class work through a semester-long project with the tool PlayPosit, I think we had some interesting results. And we'll hand it over to Dr. Ndanga for the next portion of the presentation.
Hello, everyone. So from our understanding of student engagement, several questions came up on how we can continue to engage our students. The first question we focused on was, how do we engage students through videos assigned as part of their coursework? We want our students to retain the content we are sharing with them, and therefore it was important for us to make sure that they are not just viewing the videos, but understanding the materials that we are presenting to them. The second question was, how do we help them focus on the areas that an expert eye like yours would notice, instead of them not picking up those key points that are important on the lecture or that will come up on the exam. So we wanted to make sure that they understand how to pick up the key points when they are watching the video or when they are studying. And the third question was, how do we know that they've watched and understood the assignment? So RACAS has been promoting several tools for faculty to use, and we decided to focus on PlayPosit. So what is PlayPosit? A PlayPosit is an interactive web-based video platform. It allows educators to provide formative assessment both inside and outside classrooms. Teachers are able to embed a quiz or questions within the videos, and this can be videos that you as an instructor can record by yourself, or you can actually use videos from YouTube or any other sources. The good thing about PlayPosit is, even if you use videos from other sources like YouTube, you are not disturbing the content in the video. You are able to add your questions or any multiple choice questions or essay questions that you can add to that video without disturbing the quality of your video. And the other thing is, data can be analyzed. When you're using PlayPosit, data can be analyzed and can actually have results on the trend of what the class was able to retain, or what they were interested in. So it's actually a good way to be able to get results. So that's why we wanted to use this, so that we can gauge the results that we were getting. So for our objectives, the first one, we wanted to increase interaction with the course content using PlayPosit activities. And second, we wanted to increase the interaction of students with their professors. Like Dr. Hunt said, we wanted to make sure that they are not in a silo world. We want the professor to be present, so engaging in more live sessions or virtual hours. Those office hours makes a difference for the students. So we wanted to make sure that they are not just feeling like they don't have a community to work with, even though they are online students. So we're trying to create that interaction with them to make sure that they are still connected in the online environment. The third one was increased interaction among students. This was using a group project. The students still want to interact with each other. They want to be able to network. So this was how we were thinking, that we will focus on giving them a group project that will allow them to be able to be part of, to work with each other and understand, to share ideas and understand what they are doing as a class. Then we also wanted to improve the process of engagement and result engagement in the course. So this is for us as professors. We wanted to make sure that we will get results and improve upon those results once we receive them. Most importantly, we wanted to examine students' perception about whether the teaching strategies were helping. So in this case, we are able to capture what their thoughts were, and then we can at least assess to make sure that we are headed the right way or we need to make some changes as professors. So for the methods, based on what research tells us engagement is, we focus on the PlayPosit as I mentioned before. So it's an interactive cultural video tool that we were using. So we were able to insert questions and explanations that we believe were more beneficial for the students. We also use the small group work. This is a popular teaching tool as it provides greater opportunities for students to discuss and learn from each other. They still have great ideas among themselves. They still learn from each other. So this was really important so that they are able to share their own ideas as well. Then the complex course project, this was designed meaningfully to make sure that for distance students, they are able to work throughout the semester working on that project and achieve results. So Professor Sharifi will be able to explain that as she was managing the class. But for our platform, we were using Canvas for this class, and it was the performance improvement class. I will share a little bit about how the class was set up. So the professor created the class content, and that meant from scratch redoing some of the things that were already in this class and making sure that everything is updated, the video links are updated. So I will go over some of the things because it's very difficult to see if on screen, I'm sure. So I will go over some of the things that the professor worked on. So you create the course of project to create the PlayPosit activities. So this is all time that the professor was putting in to make sure that the student will be able to follow through the rest of the class. Added course project with deliverables and rubrics, so the student actually knew how they will be assessed on each assignment that they were given. We added the PlayPosit activities, created the group workspaces so students can work together in an environment that they are able to share their ideas. Then the office hours, the student had live sessions to be able to meet with their professor, and timely feedback was also given within the course. The student activities focused on completing each deliverable for the project and being able to complete the PlayPosit activities. They also had to create time to be able to work in the groups and to utilize their group time well, to make sure they are available for their colleagues so that they can collaborate. They had to make sure they take the time to watch the recordings, attend the live sessions, and just be active within their groups. And they also had a chance to reflect on the feedback and to reflect on how everything was set up for the class. So I will hand over to Dr. Sharifi to explain how the class was actually run.
Thank you, Dr. Ndaga. So let me just show you a few screens of what we meant by the setup. So this is the Canvas platform, and that's where the groups were added. Groups were small, 3 students average, and that's the group space that Dr. Ndaga was referring to. So basically, each group had the opportunity to use the announcement feature, the discussion feature, post files, and this was only accessible by them and, of course, the professor. And also, I wanted to share the typical setup for a module. So a module actually is a week. We had 15 weeks. Each week started with the weekly objectives, the overview. Then there were readings that were assigned, the lecture recordings, the multimedia, any additional multimedia that was shared with the students to help them in the learning process. And then were the PlayPosits. In this week, there were 3 of them. The assignment was about risk management, and in that assignment, there were multiple concepts addressed. including incident reports, what an incident is and means in healthcare. They had explanations of the root cause analysis and the cause and effect diagram. So with that, hopefully that makes it, those visuals help a little bit, make it more tangible. I'll talk a little bit about the PlayPosit preparation. So the PlayPosits were aligned with the course objective. This was a performance improvement class, and the deliverables were spread out throughout the 15 weeks, particularly as you see here, week 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 13. So depending on the focus of that and the objectives that had to be met, there were various types of activities. In week 3, they had PlayPosits on team charter, Gantt, and PERT charts for course, just in general as project management concepts so that they could get organized as a group. Then in week 4, they had to analyze some data. So they had PlayPosit content on charts, how to create bar graphs or pie charts and all of those. And then how to identify performance improvement problems and opportunities just to help them with that critical thinking process. And as you see here, so in week 6, systems thinking, key performance indicators and measures and flowcharts. Week 8, as we saw earlier, incident reports, root cause analysis, creating cause and effect diagrams. Then they moved into affinity diagram, identifying training needs, moving to week 12, board of directors, roles and responsibilities, data quality and data needs. And then finally, they had to do a presentation. So a PlayPosit was provided to them to give them some methods and some approaches on how to do a virtual presentation well. And that is the course project side of it. So that's the content that they were learning, and this is what they were delivering. So in week 3, they started with getting organized and planning for the entire semester. And then they went into the dashboard creation for the Health Information Management Department. They had a clinical case, an operative report case that needed to be analyzed, risk management, staff training after they had to identify some of the issues and inconsistencies and performance problems that arise. And then they went back to evaluate the entire process that they had gone through. And finally, they wrapped up with a final presentation. So a little bit more here on some course data. The course, just to reinforce, it was totally online, 100% online, not because of COVID, but because it is by design. That's how we offer the health information management courses. I had 29 students in class, which were split in groups of 3 to 4. The PlayPosit activities totaled 15. And something that I should mention is they were short. Research had shown us that students tend to drop out after a while. They don't stick to the long videos, and we try to make these as effective and efficient as possible. So the average length was 6.41 minutes, and they were not, there were not a lot of questions. It was not like a quiz where you had 10 or 20 questions. They were short and they had fewer questions. So an average of 4 questions each. In addition to that, so that is an assessment, right? Short assessment, learning opportunity coupled with a short assessment. Then there was also additional videos and live lectures and recordings of those live lectures. There was student interaction happening in Canvas in the discussion area. They used WhatsApp, they used FaceTime, they used text messaging and Google Docs. And most of the times they shared all of these with me as the professor. And they had 7 course project deliverables. This was their main, really their main deliverable. It amounted for about almost half of the grade. The rest were quizzes, discussions, online discussions, exams. In addition to what was here, 3 live debates were offered on performance improvement topics. This was done to help them exercise a little bit of critical thinking, speak out loud, and just kind of practice and build confidence as they were working on their group projects. So I would present them with some scenarios that were different from the ones in the course project, walk them through the issues that were there, and then they would bring up certain aspects, certain ideas on how issues could be improved, what type of data would need to be collected, and things of that nature. And there were also virtual office hours. Surprisingly, though, there was no attendance, and most likely because that there was a lot happening anyway that was structured. So I have a feeling there was no need to attend, another office hour that I had made available to them because there were these ongoing interactions. And now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Dr. Gia.
Okay, thank you. So here is the results. We looked at the outcomes from 2 aspects. One is the objective kind of course analytics, and then 2 is students' comments. So first, in terms of the kind of more objective course outcomes, we are happy to see that all 29 students, they enroll in the course completed the course successfully. Specifically, they complete 99% of the PlayPosit activities with accuracy of more than 87, 88%. And the project completion rate was 100%. The students' projects scored a range from 89 to 100. The overall students' achievement in this course was 82 to 98%. Additionally, in terms of video views and lecture recordings, we found from the Caltero analytics, students played a lot in those videos. It's a total of 132 video views. And the communication between professor and students groups was kind of impressive. There were 82 student emails received from Canvas inbox, and also there are 77 emails received in the Outlook email. And then there are average of 6 text messages, 2 to 3 phone calls between the professor and the students. As well, the group meetings, without professor's presence. Okay, so here are students' comments as we ask students to reflect on their experience about this PlayPosit, about the overall engagement, and also about the group project. Here are students, what they see. For example, the group work being a key aspect, it was really awesome, and my group was able to get along very well each other, and it's a pleasure to be team leader and this working together experience. So two of the researchers in our team has gone through all the students' comments, and we were able to group them into themes related to PlayPosit, group project, and the overall engagement. In general, in the PlayPosit related comments, we found students found that the PlayPosit activity was very helpful and beneficial, and it aligned well with the deliverables. It was a great learning resource, and it was very enjoyable. In terms of the group work comments, students found was very important in teaching the collaboration and how to work with their colleague in the future in their workplace. The group project also enabled learning more from each other. And it was an enjoyable networking experience. And students also found the group work was challenging because of the time conflicts needed to get on together each week. That was what we found. So in terms of the overall engagement, students has a comment that the knowledge they gained was applicable to the real world. The course stimulated higher order thinking, and the course was enjoyable and kept students really wanting more. So I'm going to handle the rest to Dr. Sharif.
Thank you, Dr. Jia. So as you saw from the comments, the students' comments, this was a very positive experience for them. And based on those comments, we believe that the teaching method created an environment that was highly energetic. It led to very high level of task completion, higher order thinking, knowledge that was applicable to real world. And these are actually words from the students' comments. And there was this ongoing purposeful exchange and communication. So basically, when students, just as an example, when students were reaching out, the quality of the questions was better than before. And I've been teaching for 18 years. So these are actually indicators of the cognitive presence that Dr. Hunt mentioned at the beginning, which is an indicator of some level of engagement. We also believe that the networking aspects that were pointed out, the part where they identified the experience as enjoyable and positive, the collaboration, even though they said it was challenging, they enjoyed that, and they felt comfortable in reaching out with questions, whether it was with a phone call or text or whatever means. So those we believe are indicators of social presence. And again, as was discussed before, research shows that when you have that present, it is associated with a better learning environment. There were multiple touch points for the content. There was ongoing communication. So the teaching presence was there from the videos that were available, from the live sessions and the Q&As and the debates. So, and the responses via email. So all of those things led to a high level of engagement overall. We saw that the PlayPosit as a guide to completing their group project was perceived positively. It did generate engagement. In fact, one of the students commented that he wanted to go back and retake the PlayPosit. The fact that they just voluntarily wanted to do that was an indication that they really enjoyed that and they viewed it as valuable. So we believe that the method worked well with this course, with this group of students, and we believe that it shows promise for further use. It's a multi-pronged approach, though. It's not just we have a PlayPosit, we have some videos, and you throw them, and that is going to create engagement. As it was explained, it takes a lot more than that. So given that, we know that the method is not, it is a good recipe, and it generated some success with us, but it's not a cookie cutter. There are considerations, limitations. There was quite some time invested in preparing the course. Although once the course is set up, and if it's set up well, then the next time you teach the course, you don't have to make the same time investment again. For example, if when creating the videos in the PlayPosit or when you select them from other resources, you eliminate the time component or references to, let's say, a week this or a week that. So that can be used even if you change some of the parameters of your deliverables or the course project, the concepts remain the same. So if that is designed well, you can reuse that so that it would save time in the future. We saw increased interaction with students in providing meaningful and timely feedback. So, from a professor standpoint, when everything is, on a weekly basis, it is very important to provide that quickly and objectively, of course, so that they can use that and reflect that for the next deliverable they have, especially if certain things depend on the prior deliverable. Again, it was treated as a true project. And then the third one we wanted to identify and highlight here is the challenges in incorporating multiple tools and teaching approaches in the online environment. So the online environment, as research shows us, has some limitations with that, not in terms of presenting the tools, but knowing that your students are actually taking advantage of it. So while that could be a limitation, because one could say, well, how do you know that the students were really watching the video? They could have had it up and they walk away, which can happen. That is true. And the course analytics will still pick it up. But that coupled with the other activities, that's why I said earlier it's a multi-pronged approach. That's what would make it more successful. So these are all considerations for anyone that would like to try this in the future. But we do believe there is potential impact, positive impact, to improve student learning experience and plant the seeds for lifelong learning, because it's not just about a grade, it's about learning critical skills and concepts to enhance their critical thinking, problem solving, and even soft skills, which if you have noticed a lot of the literature that's coming out with the new generation, it seems like there is a greater need for those to be enhanced. And finally, we wanted to explore, we are teachers, we would try to explore best practices, and this was one of them. So we can try different ways, maybe not with the course project, but with, some shorter assignments. The point is to make things unique, to make them valuable for the students, and to make them more effective and efficient. So we appreciate your questions, and feel free if you have any, if you'd like to discuss anything in greater detail, feel free to email us. We thank you for your attention and for joining our session today. And these are our references. Thank you. Bye-bye. So I asked Ariel to share the slides, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know there were some questions on the how much time it takes to prepare the PlayPosit activities. So it really depends. The reason perhaps I spent more time than I have in some other courses, because I wanted that alignment to be really there, because it was what I had in the videos. I wanted, that to be perfectly aligned with my objectives and the deliverables, the assessments. So that's why most of the time was spent there just thinking and rethinking. The other reason I spent a lot of time was I was selective with videos, not just on the length. And Ariel, you can take the presentation down if you want.
Okay.
Thank you. So, this has been this whole period of time. At Rutgers, we have emphasized diversity, and I wanted the videos also to reflect a level of diversity. I purposefully went on a quest to look for videos that had people from different races, from different genders and ages too, because you tend to see, some of the videos where people are teaching you tools, more older people, but then I know that there are younger people out there that are doing, really great videos and work. And so that was also an aspect that took a little more time. So that's, in response to what was asked in the chat, it really depends on how much you want out of it. it's kind of, we use that not just to deliver content and knowledge, but as an inspiration too. Like I would look at that from a perspective of, okay, how is my student population looking at that? Can they see themselves at some point, doing it in the future? It helps with that, relationship building too. And TJ, feel free to hop in.
I was really happy with the comments that the students did give their feedback with. They were all very positive, and they liked the platform. They liked the interaction. I think that was where it matched up with some of our kind of literature review beforehand, was that the interaction had to feel meaningful for the students. Otherwise, the students are busy. They're working, they have family commitments, and if they have to choose between submitting an assignment that they feel is worth more credit in the class or whatever, or doing a discussion that they have evaluated and said, well, it's not quite as much points, I'm going to put my focus on the assignment where it's going to count more in the class, and then just do what I need to do, the minimal amount in whatever form or whatever. So we thought that that this was a way that they would see as a meaningful way to interact as well.
Thank you. So there was a question about grading the group work. I had set it up as a group grade, but for every deliverable, students had to report who did what. So if they were comfortable with the individual contributions, that was the grade was a group grade. However, if they were not comfortable because someone perhaps did not contribute at all that week or very minimally, then there was a distinction, and that only happened a couple of times. So I hope that helps. Do I have a sample rubric for one of the PlayPosit activities? The PlayPosit activities do not have a grading rubric because the questions I embedded were mostly multiple choice. So let's say there were 3 minutes of video playing, and for that first 3 minutes, there was a concept explained. Then I would embed a question, stop. So the video will stop. The student has to answer that question in order to move forward. So there is really no need for the grading rubric, unless you're asking for how they are embedded into Canvas. That can be done seamlessly if you use the PlayPosit tool through Canvas. And another question, how did students connect with each other? Excellent. So yes, in the first week, they got to know each other, although they knew each other from the first semester in the other course. And then I split them in groups. They had their group area that was shown in one of the slides. And I sent an introductory email to the group. And then the group proceeded by sharing contact information and just connecting with each other in their preferred method. Like they did a lot of FaceTiming and WhatsApp too, which were not part of Canvas. I did not set up the Zoom links for them. I only did that for 2 groups during the presentation week when they were just having some trouble, technical issues, and I said, I will set up the Zoom link for you. So I helped them with the recording of their presentation. So the presentation was recorded and submitted as a group. Our courses are online asynchronous. Therefore, we have tried to make it as convenient and accessible for all of our students as possible. And that includes not making mandatory synchronous live events, not making them mandatory. We offer them, but then we record them for anybody who's not able to attend. And we do have a diverse population of students, so feel free, TJ, to add. It's a very mixed group, traditional age and non-traditional age.
We also like the opportunity for the students who are pursuing the degree online as a way to network with each other while they're in school. That's something that pursuing our degree, we don't want the students to miss out on, are those connections that they make with their classmates, because then they're going to be colleagues in the future, and they can graduate with a start on their professional network. So being asynchronous courses, this gives them a chance to figure out a way in their groups that they can work best together, know more about each other, and to interact.
Right. So in terms of the group composition, something that I tried to do as much as it was possible was mix up the groups in a way that most of them actually had someone in them that had some sort of healthcare experience. Some of them just have it work, in healthcare, or maybe they know someone. And again, the way I knew that was because of their introductions. I also asked them in the first deliverable to get to know each other. So one of the graded items in the first course project deliverable was to describe one of their group members. So not describe themselves, but talk about one of the group members so that they would, know what they do and what they like and what is their preferred time for group work and things like that. And I should say, I don't know if you picked it up in the slides with comments, student comments. They felt a little bit of struggle. I can't say that the group work was very smooth. Timing was came up. It came up as one of the themes that was identified. This was a class of 29 students. I would say about half and half in terms of the group ages, the traditional and non-traditional. I would say more than half worked, some even full-time, while attending full-time school. So that's why they did bring up the issue of finding the time to meet with the group. And I had presented them with different ways. You don't have to have a synchronous meeting every week. You could meet, of course, if you can, but you could do a lot of this communication and discussion of who's going to do what and how well it's done, and if it's done via email or via the group function that we have in Canvas. And some groups did that. So you have to give students flexibility, as it was discussed by the keynote speaker today. The key point was in them realizing that this is an important piece of the course and almost half the grade, but it was relevant. I think the fact that the whole course was kind of connected, so the pieces were not abstract, and that's where they found, I think, the most value, because it made sense. They moved from one thing to another, and it was just kind of one big thing with different pieces. Thank you. Thank you so much for attending, and feel free to connect with us if you'd like to collaborate or learn more.